Cole Tanner and Emily Parker were more than just childhood friends. They were soulmates in the making, though neither of them knew it yet. Growing up in the wide-open plains of Texas, they spent their early years running wild, exploring the vast land that seemed endless to their young eyes. They lived in a small town where everyone knew each other, and the cowboy way of life was not just a tradition but a way of survival. From a young age, Cole had a natural affinity for horses. He learned to ride almost before he could walk, spending countless hours on horseback, feeling the freedom that came with the wind in his hair and the vast horizon ahead. His father, a former rodeo star, taught him everything he knew about the cowboy life. Cole quickly became a local rodeo prodigy, showing a talent that far surpassed his years. Emily, on the other hand, was a firecracker. With her wild blonde curls and bright blue eyes, she was fearless and adventurous, often challenging Cole to races or daring him to ride the wildest horses they could find. Her family owned a small ranch next to Cole's, and the two of them grew up like siblings. Their bond forged through years of shared laughter, scraped knees, and the mutual understanding that only comes from a lifetime of friendship. As they entered their teenage years, something began to shift. Their playful banter took on a new depth, and they started to notice things about each other they hadn't before. Emily found herself admiring Cole's strong, steady demeanor and the way he handled even the most unruly horses with a calm confidence. Cole, in turn, couldn't help but notice how Emily's laughter could light up a room and how her adventurous spirit made her the most exciting person he had ever known. One summer evening, as they sat together on a hill overlooking the sunset, the colors of the sky fading into twilight, Cole felt something he couldn't quite explain. He glanced at Emily, who was watching the horizon with a serene smile, and realized that she had become more than just a friend. She was everything to him. The thought scared him, but it also thrilled him in a way he had never felt before. The years rolled on, and by the time they were both in their late teens, the bond between Cole and Emily had deepened into something undeniable. They spent every possible moment together, whether it was working on their respective ranches, riding through the fields, or sitting by the campfire sharing stories about their future. They were each other's confidants, partners, and soon, their hearts began to beat for one another in a way that transcended friendship. It was during one of their frequent horseback rides that their feelings finally came to the surface. They had been out all day, exploring a remote part of the countryside they hadn't ventured into before. The day was perfect, with the sun shining down on them, casting a golden glow over the tall grass. They raced their horses to a secluded grove where a small stream bubbled merrily. Breathless and laughing, they dismounted and let the horses graze while they sat by the water. As they talked about their dreams, Cole's aspirations of becoming a rodeo champion and Emily's desire to build a life that was as free and wild as the plains they loved, Cole found himself unable to hold back any longer. He looked at Emily, the way her hair caught the sunlight, her eyes filled with excitement and joy, and he knew he couldn't keep his feelings hidden anymore. "Emily," he began, his voice soft but firm, "there's something I need to tell you." She turned to him, her smile fading slightly as she sensed the seriousness in his tone. "What is it, Cole?" He took a deep breath, gathering his courage. I think I've fallen in love with you. I don't know when it happened, but I can't stop thinking about you. You're the first thing on my mind when I wake up and the last thing I think about before I fall asleep. You're not just my best friend, Emily. You're everything to me." For a moment, there was only silence. Cole's heart pounded in his chest as he waited for her response. Then, slowly, a smile spread across Emily's face, and she reached out to take his hand. "I've been waiting for you to say that," she whispered, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "Because I've fallen in love with you too, Cole. I have for a long time." The relief that washed over Cole was overwhelming. He pulled her into his arms, holding her close as the reality of their mutual feelings settled between them. They stayed like that for a long time, simply enjoying the closeness, the comfort of knowing they had finally admitted what had been growing between them for years. With their love out in the open, Cole and Emily's relationship blossomed into something even more beautiful. They were inseparable, not just as friends, but now as partners in every sense of the word. Their days were filled with laughter, love, and the shared dream of building a future together. Cole's rodeo career began to take off. He competed in local and regional events, quickly earning a reputation as one of the best young cowboys in the circuit. Emily was always there, cheering him on from the sidelines, her heart swelling with pride as she watched the man she loved shine in the spotlight. But their relationship wasn't just about rodeo. They spent long hours talking about their future, about the ranch they wanted to build, the horses they would raise, and the family they hoped to have someday. On weekends, they would ride out to a piece of land that Cole had his eye on. It was a beautiful stretch of rolling hills, dotted with trees and bordered by a clear, sparkling creek. Cole had big plans for this land. He wanted to buy it, build a ranch, and create a life for himself and Emily that would last a lifetime. One evening, as they stood on a hill overlooking the property, Cole turned to Emily, his expression serious. "I want this land, Emily," he said, his voice filled with determination. "I want to build our life here. This is where I see our future. What do you think?" Emily looked out at the land, imagining the possibilities. She could see it, the ranch, the horses, the life they would build together. It felt right, like everything had been leading up to this moment. She turned back to Cole, her heart full of love and excitement. "I think it's perfect," she replied, smiling. "Let's do it, Cole. Let's build our life here." With that decision made, their dreams began to take shape. They started planning in earnest, saving every penny they could and working hard to make their vision a reality. The land was theirs, and with it, the promise of a future together. Just as their dreams were beginning to take root, the world around them started to change. The rumblings of war grew louder, and soon it became clear that the United States would be drawn into the conflict. The small town that had always felt so safe and isolated was now touched by the fear and uncertainty that came with the looming war. Cole, like many young men of his generation, felt a deep sense of duty. He had always been taught that a cowboy stands up for what's right, protects the weak, and fights for justice. When the call to serve came, Cole knew in his heart that he couldn't ignore it. He had to go. Telling Emily was the hardest thing he had ever done. They were sitting on the porch of her family's ranch, the sun setting in the distance, casting long shadows across the land. Cole reached for her hand, his heart heavy with the weight of what he was about to say. "Emily, I've been thinking a lot about what's happening in the world. I feel like I have to do something. I have to fight." Emily's eyes widened in shock, her grip tightening on his hand. "Cole, no, you can't go. We're just starting our life together. You can't leave now." Cole's heart ached at the pain in her voice, but he knew he had to stand by his convictions. "I don't want to leave you, Emily, but I can't just sit here and do nothing while others are out there fighting for our freedom. It's something I have to do, but I promise you, no matter what happens, I'll come back to you. I'll always come back to you." Tears filled Emily's eyes as she realized there was no changing his mind. She loved him too much to hold him back from what he felt was right, even though it broke her heart. They held each other tightly, both knowing that their lives were about to change forever. The day of Cole's departure came too quickly. The town gathered to see off the young men who were leaving to fight, and the atmosphere was thick with emotion. Families hugged their sons, brothers, and husbands goodbye, praying that they would return safely. Cole and Emily stood together, away from the crowd, holding onto each other as if their lives depended on it. Neither of them spoke much, the weight of the moment leaving them both searching for words that could convey the depth of their feelings. Finally, as the time to leave drew near, Cole pulled Emily close, resting his forehead against hers. "I love you, Emily," he whispered, his voice filled with emotion. "I'll think of you every day, and I'll carry you with me wherever I go. Don't ever doubt that I'll come back to you." Emily nodded, tears streaming down her face as she tried to hold back the sobs threatening to escape. "I love you too, Cole. More than anything, I'll be here, waiting for you, praying for your safe return. Just promise me you'll stay safe and come back to me." Cole kissed her, pouring all his love and emotion into that one moment. When they finally pulled apart, he took out the silver locket he had given her and gently placed it around her neck again. "Keep this close," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Whenever you miss me, just hold it and know that I'm thinking of you too." With one last kiss, Cole turned and walked toward the group of soldiers preparing to leave. Emily watched him go, her heart breaking with every step he took away from her. As he climbed onto the truck that would take him away, he turned and met her gaze one last time, raising a hand in a silent farewell. Emily raised her hand in return, holding back her tears until the truck disappeared down the road, taking Cole and her heart with it. Alone on the porch, Emily clutched the locket, her thoughts consumed by the man she loved and the uncertainty of the future. She knew the road ahead would be difficult, but she also knew that their love was strong enough to withstand the distance and the trials to come. With a deep breath, she whispered a prayer for Cole's safety, vowing to keep the faith and hold on to the hope that they would be reunited someday. Cole Tanner's journey into the war was nothing like the dusty rodeo arenas or the open fields of Texas he had known all his life. The battlefields of Europe were a stark contrast to the life he had left behind. Every day, the sound of gunfire, the smell of smoke, and the sight of devastation reminded him how far he was from the peaceful life he had dreamed of with Emily. As a member of an elite special forces unit, Cole's natural leadership and calm under pressure quickly earned him the respect of his comrades. His cowboy grit served him well, allowing him to remain composed even in the most harrowing situations. But no matter how intense the battle, Emily was never far from his thoughts. He kept her locket tucked safely under his uniform, a constant reminder of the life waiting for him back home. The letters from Emily were his lifeline. Every word she wrote was a beacon of hope, a connection to a world where love still existed, even amid the chaos of war. Her letters spoke of the ranch, of their plans, and of her unwavering belief that he would return to her. But as the war dragged on, the weight of the fighting began to take its toll on Cole. He witnessed the loss of friends, the destruction of towns, and the senseless cruelty of war. It hardened him in ways he never imagined, and he began to wonder if the man who would return to Emily would be the same one who left her. One night, after a particularly grueling mission, Cole sat alone in his tent, staring at Emily's latest letter. The words blurred as exhaustion and emotion overwhelmed him. In that moment, he realized just how much he had changed. The boy who had left Texas with dreams of heroism had become a man who understood the true cost of war. But no matter how much the war tried to break him, his love for Emily remained his anchor. "I'll come back to you, Emily," he whispered into the night, his voice filled with determination. "No matter what, I'll find my way back to you." Back in Texas, Emily Parker's life was defined by waiting. Every day, she carried out her routine with a sense of purpose, trying to maintain the ranch and hold on to the future she and Cole had planned. But the weight of his absence was a constant ache in her heart. The days were long, and the nights even longer, as she lay awake worrying about him, praying for his safety. Emily threw herself into her work on the ranch, keeping busy to avoid the gnawing fear that crept up on her in moments of quiet. The ranch had always been a place of comfort for her, but without Cole, it felt empty. The wide open spaces a reminder of the distance between them. She often found herself standing on the hill where they had shared their dreams, gazing out over the land they had hoped to build their future on. It was here that she felt closest to him, where she could almost hear his voice and feel his presence. The letters she received from Cole were her most cherished possessions. She read them over and over, memorizing his words, holding on to the promises he made. Each letter was a lifeline, a reminder that he was still out there, fighting to come back to her. She wrote to him every chance she got, filling her letters with stories of the ranch, their friends, and the life she knew they would share again. But as the months turned into years, the waiting grew more difficult. The war seemed endless, and the news of casualties weighed heavily on her. She knew that every day Cole was out there, he was in danger. Yet, she never allowed herself to lose hope. She prayed every night, asking God to bring him back safely and to give her the strength to keep waiting, no matter how long it took. Her faith became her greatest source of strength. She clung to it, knowing that it was the only thing that could keep her going when the fear threatened to overwhelm her. And so, she waited, holding on to the belief that one day, Cole would walk through the door, and they would finally have the life they had always dreamed of. After years of fighting, the war finally ended. The soldiers were coming home, and towns across America were filled with the joyous reunions of families and loved ones. For Emily, the news that the war was over brought both relief and anxiety. She had waited so long for this moment, but the fear that Cole might not return had haunted her dreams. One crisp autumn morning, as she went about her chores, Emily heard the distant sound of a truck approaching the ranch. Her heart skipped a beat. Could it be? She dropped the feed she was carrying and ran toward the sound, her pulse racing. As she reached the front of the house, she saw the military truck stop just outside the gate. Her breath caught in her throat as the door opened, and there he was, Cole Tanner, standing tall in his uniform, looking every bit the hero she had imagined. But there was something different about him. The boyish charm had given way to a more serious, hardened man. But when their eyes met, she saw the same love and devotion she had always known. "Cole!" she cried, tears streaming down her face as she ran to him. He dropped his bag and caught her in his arms, holding her tightly as if he would never let go. "I'm home, Emily," he whispered into her hair, his voice thick with emotion. "I told you I'd come back." Emily pulled back just enough to look into his eyes, her hands cupping his face. "You're really here," she said, almost in disbelief. "I prayed for this every day, Cole. I knew you'd come back to me." He kissed her then, a deep, passionate kiss that spoke of all the love and longing they had endured. In that moment, everything else fell away. The war, the separation, the fear. They were all just memories now. What mattered was that they were together again, and nothing would ever tear them apart. The days that followed Cole's return were a mixture of joy and adjustment. Reuniting with Emily was everything he had dreamed of, but the war had left its mark on him, both physically and emotionally. He struggled with the memories of the battles he had fought and the friends he had lost. At night, the nightmares would come, pulling him back to the horrors of the battlefield. Emily would wake to find him restless, his brow furrowed in distress. She would hold him close, whispering words of comfort until he fell back to sleep. Emily knew that the man who had returned to her was not the same as the one who had left. The war had changed him, but her love for him had only grown stronger. She was determined to help him heal, to show him that despite everything, they could still have the future they had dreamed of. Cole struggled to adjust to civilian life. The rodeo, once his passion, now seemed distant and trivial compared to what he had experienced. He tried to immerse himself in the work of building their ranch, but the weight of his memories often slowed him down. Yet, through it all, Emily was his constant source of strength. Her unwavering love and support gave him the courage to face his demons and begin the process of healing. One evening, as they sat on the porch, watching the sun set over the land they now called their own, Cole finally opened up to Emily about his struggles. He told her about the battles, the losses, and the guilt he carried. Emily listened patiently, her heart breaking for the pain he had endured. When he finished, she took his hand in hers, her touch gentle and reassuring. "Cole, you don't have to carry this burden alone," she said softly. "I'm here for you, just like you were there for me when I was waiting for you to come home. We'll get through this together, one day at a time. You're not alone anymore." Her words were like a balm to his wounded soul. For the first time since his return, Cole felt a sense of peace. He knew the road to recovery would be long, but with Emily by his side, he believed he could make it. With time, Cole began to heal. The nightmares became less frequent, and the weight of his past started to lift. Emily's love and faith in him were his guiding lights, helping him find his way back to the man he once was. Together, they focused on building the life they had always dreamed of. The ranch they had envisioned became a reality. They worked side by side, turning the land into a thriving haven for themselves and the family they planned to have. The work was hard, but it was also fulfilling, a reminder of the dreams they had shared on those long-ago rides through the countryside. As the months passed, their love only grew stronger. They had faced the ultimate test, and emerged even more committed to each other. Cole proposed to Emily on the very hill where they had first confessed their love, with the same sunset painting the sky in hues of pink and orange. Emily, tears of joy in her eyes, said yes without hesitation. Their wedding was a simple, beautiful affair, attended by their closest friends and family. It was a celebration not just of their love, but of their resilience and the journey they had traveled together. As they exchanged vows, both knew that their love had been forged in fire, and nothing could ever break it. In the years that followed, Cole and Emily's life was filled with happiness and fulfillment. They had children, who grew up surrounded by love and the strong values their parents embodied. The ranch flourished, becoming a symbol of their enduring love and hard work. Cole, once haunted by the shadows of war, found peace in the life they built together. He embraced his role as a husband, father, and rancher, finding joy in the simple moments, teaching his children to ride horses, working the land with Emily, and spending quiet evenings on the porch, watching the sun set over the horizon. Emily, too, found her heart's deepest desires fulfilled. She had the family she had always dreamed of, and the man she loved by her side. The ranch became not just a place of work, but a sanctuary where they nurtured their love and raised their children with the values of faith, resilience, and love. Together, they faced life's challenges with the same strength and determination that had seen them through the war and its aftermath. And in the quiet moments, when the day's work was done and they sat together under the stars, Cole would take Emily's hand, his love for her as strong as ever. As they grew older, they knew their story was one of triumph over adversity, a testament to the power of love, faith, and the unbreakable bond they shared. Their children and grandchildren would inherit not just the land, but the legacy of a love that had withstood the greatest tests life could offer. And so, Cole and Emily Tanner lived out their days in the home they had built together, their love growing deeper with each passing year, until they were old and gray, still side by side, just as they had always dreamed. Hope you enjoyed this story. Don't forget to like it and subscribe to our channel. Your participation is essential so that we can continue to bring you more incredible stories. Share it with your friends to help our channel grow. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.